I found my childhood diary and realized my imaginary friend wasn't imaginary at all last month. While cleaning out my parents' attic before they downsized, I found a small pink diary with a broken lock. I immediately recognized it as mine from when I was 7 years old. What I didn't expect was how reading it would make me question everything I thought I knew about my childhood. The diary started innocently enough parent-typical 7-year-old entries about school friends and my obsession with collecting rocks. But around page 15, the entries changed. Sarah came again last night. Mom and Dad still can't see her. She says that's because only special people can. Sarah, my supposed imaginary friend who appeared shortly after we moved into that old Victorian house in 1998. I'd completely forgotten about her until that moment. As I continued reading, chills ran down my spine. I had documented Sarah in disturbing detail, turned not as a playful imaginary companion, but as a sad teenage girl in old-fashioned clothes who would sit at the foot of my bed and tell me stories about before the accident. One entry read, Sarah showed me where her favorite doll is hidden. She says it's in the wall behind my closet. She wants me to find it so she won't be lonely anymore. Another, Sarah is angry today because the new bathroom light is too bright. She says this was her room first and they're ruining it. The most unsettling entry came near the end. Sarah says she needs to show me something important in the basement. She never goes to the basement. She says that's where it happened. I told her I am not allowed down there alone and she got very quiet. I called my mother immediately. Do you remember my imaginary friend, Sarah? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Oh God, she whispered. I was hoping you'd forgotten about all that. According to my mother, my friendship with Sarah had deeply disturbed my parents. I had known things about the house. I couldn't possibly have known like the fact that the back staircase had been removed in the 1970s or that my bedroom once had floral wallpaper with tiny blue roses. The breaking point came when I led my father to a spot in the basement and told him this is where it happened to Sarah. My father, curious, had later removed some old shelving and found water damage from what appeared to be a decades-old flood. 2 weeks after that incident, my parents put the house on the market. We moved before the next school year started. We should have researched the house before buying it, my mother admitted, but we were young, it was our first home, and the price was too good to pass up after our call. I spent hours researching our old address online. In a digitized newspaper archive from 1956, I found it paired a small article about a teenage girl named Sarah Winters, who had drowned in the basement of our former home during a flash flood. She had been trapped when the basement door jammed. The article mentioned she was survived by her parents and her beloved doll collection. I've spent the past week trying to rationalize this. Perhaps I had overheard neighbors talking about the house's history. Maybe my parents had discussed it, thinking I wasn't listening. There must be a logical explanation for how a 7-year-old knew details about a girl who had died decades before I was born. But then yesterday, a package arrived from my parents' parent items they'd found in a second round of attic cleaning. Included was a small, aged porcelain doll with a cracked face. Attached was a note in my father's handwriting. Wound this inside the wall when renovating your old closet before we sold the house. Never knew how to explain it, so we kept it. Maybe now is the time. I am 32 years old, educated, rational. I don't believe in ghosts. But as I hold this doll parent, the one Sarah told me about 25 years ago, I am forced to confront the possibility that my imaginary friend wasn't imaginary at all. Sometimes the line between childhood imagination and something more unexplainable is thinner than we'd like to admit. And sometimes the friends we invent turn out to be the ones who actually existed all along.